Tonight's bedtime story is The Yeti Who Sold Spaghetti by Alicia Ainsley. One evening, Littlefoot the Yeti received some most surprising news. He found out that his favourite shop in the whole wide world, Auntie Antler's Alpine Emporium, was closing down. Auntie Antler was an elderly reindeer who'd lived on the same snowy mountain range as Littlefoot for as long as he could remember. Eons ago, when he was but a young Yeti, his parents would take him to Auntie Antler's Arctic Emporium, where he would browse the shelves for all kinds of delicious treats, like snow rolls and Yule logs and baked Alaska puddings. Then he would take a seat at one of the tables alongside his parents, and Auntie Antler would bring out a tray balanced on her antlers with 3 steaming bowls of her signature homemade mountain vegetable soup. Every now and then, Littlefoot would ask Auntie Antler if one day she could make him spaghetti, for spaghetti was Littlefoot's favourite food. But Auntie Antler would just chuckle and say, "I've got no knack for making spaghetti, I'm afraid, Littlefoot. You'll have to have your spaghetti elsewhere." Littlefoot wouldn't mind, because even though it was true spaghetti was his favourite food, Auntie Antler's mountain vegetable soup was still absolutely delicious, and he licked his bowl clean every single time. In fact, Littlefoot loved Auntie Antler and her mountain veg soup so much that even all these years later, he still came by the Emporium almost every day to see her and have a bowl. And it was on one such evening that Auntie Antler told him the news. In just a few days, the Emporium would be closing its doors. It was shutting down. Littlefoot's mouth fell open in shock. Unfortunately, he was halfway through eating his mountain vegetable soup, so a piece of carrot popped out of his mouth and plopped onto the table. "But why?" he asked. Auntie Antler sighed. "Do you know how long I've been doing this, Littlefoot?" 100 years?" he asked. "Not quite," Auntie Antler said, "but close. The truth is, I'm getting too old to run an emporium and be stuck in the kitchen all the time. I've loved it. I've had a full house every night for as long as I can remember. And I've been featured 3 times, yes, 3 times, in Mr. Tusk's list of best mountainside meals. But, Littlefoot, I'm ready to retire. I want to have more time for doing things that reindeer like me want to do, like skiing and watching documentaries about Lapland. The era of the Alpine Emporium has been wonderful, but even the most wonderful eras got to come to an end sometime." Though Littlefoot nodded because he understood, he still looked down sadly into his soup. "I'll be sad not to have your delicious food anymore," he said. "Don't worry, Littlefoot," said Auntie Antler. "You can still swing by my house from time to time, and I'll make a special bowl just for you." Littlefoot gave her a smile. That made him feel better. He perked up a jot. "And what will happen to this place?" he asked, looking around at the building's wooden walls and rafters. "Is someone going to take it over?" "Well, I hadn't quite got that far," Auntie Antler told him. "But I do have one idea, though it might be a pretty crazy one." "Oh, yes?" Littlefoot asked. "What's that?" "I've been thinking about how you always wished I would serve spaghetti in here," Auntie Antler said. "I remember you would so often say that there was nowhere anywhere on the mountain range that could do a good bowl of spaghetti. Well, that's true, said Littlefoot. But what does that have to do with anything? I thought perhaps someone could turn the Emporium into a spaghetti place, Auntie Antler said. That's a nice idea, said Littlefoot. But who could do that? Why, you silly sausage, Auntie Antler said. You, of course. Littlefoot blinked at her. Me? He asked. Yes, you. Auntie Antler gave him a long look, with her bushy reindeer eyebrows raised. Just think about it, she said. Now, think about it. So he did. He looked around the Emporium at its rows of shelves, its counter and bar, its kitchen in the back. The tables and chairs, the walls covered in pictures of all kinds of snowy mountain creatures eating Auntie Antler's soup, the creaky, beloved floorboards with the soft and cosy rugs. He thought about it. And the more he thought about it, the more he liked it. A spaghetti shop. Well, yes, wouldn't that be a fine thing? And not just any spaghetti shop. His spaghetti shop. Yeti Spaghetti. Littlefoot broke into a big smile and put a furry white hand on Auntie Antler's shoulders. I'll do it, he said. As it turned out, there was much to prepare for opening a spaghetti shop in the mountains. Even though the log cabin of the Alpine Emporium was weather-tight and sturdy, it still required a lick of paint and a few decorations. Littlefoot, after all, wanted to put his own stamp on it. So he got out a paintbrush, a rich olive green would be best, he had decided, and set to work. And when the place was spruced up, he hung pictures of bowls of pasta on the walls and fashioned a couple of life-sized yetis, wearing chef's hats, of course, out of dried spaghetti, to act as welcoming statues by the door. And last but not least, he built a sign, climbed a ladder to hang the sign above the door of the log cabin that read, Yeti Spaghetti, in bright golden lights. You'd be able to spot it from way down the snow-lined street. It would draw people in from far and wide. Luckily, the waiters and kitchen helpers who worked with Auntie Antler wanted to stay on, so Littlefoot didn't have to find new staff. But what he did have to do was induct them all into the fine arts of making spaghetti. They were very skilled cooks who had refined and perfected a whole suite of dishes that appeared on Auntie Antler's menu. But, as you well know, they had never cooked spaghetti. And at Littlefoot's Yeti Spaghetti, they weren't simply going to be cooking spaghetti, they were going to be making it. So Littlefoot put on his white chef's hat and showed them how to mix the eggs and the flour, and then kneaded it together until it produced a dough of just the right consistency. A balancing act as tricky and particular as a circus performer treading a thread-thin high wire. Then he taught them how to take a rolling pin and roll out the dough until it was a long, thin sheet, and slice it into perfect strands of spaghetti as slender as angel's hair. Then into the bubbling water they went, swimming around for just a few minutes until they were cooked perfectly through. And you see, he said to his sous chefs, presenting them with a bowl of steaming pasta, this is how you make a perfect bowl of spaghetti. And then, of course, the sauce. Or rather sauces. Cheese sauces and bolognese sauces, vegetable sauces and sauces with secret recipes that only a select few would ever know. And of course, Littlefoot's special creation, of which he was particularly proud. Have you ever heard of a spaghetti dessert? Well, at Yeti Spaghetti, they would revolutionize pasta forever with the hazelnut chocolate spaghetti, lip-smackingly good. Are you sure you're going to be able to get this all together in time for opening night, Littlefoot? Auntie Antler asked, scrutinizing the long list of dishes the Yeti had written out on his chalkboard menu. Clearly, she thought it was ambitious. Littlefoot crossed his fingers, and his toes too, for good measure. I hope so, he said. But he needn't have worried. Opening night went off swimmingly. Yeti Spaghetti was filled with guests who'd arrived from every neighbouring mountain peak. Candles flickered on tables, an Arctic monkey played guitar perched on a stool, and bowl after bowl of perfectly cooked spaghetti made its way from the kitchen to plates, and every bowl was wiped clean. Well, Auntie Antler said when the evening was over, I think that was a roaring success. Me too, said Littlefoot. Our Yeti friend was exhausted. He'd been on his feet for hours, welcoming diners, smoothing out issues, delivering dishes to tables. But he had an irrepressible smile on his face. What a night it had been. Oh, Auntie Antler exclaimed. What's that? A white envelope had just been slipped through the letterbox and was now resting on the welcome mat that lay before the door. Auntie Antler trotted over and lifted it up. Oh my, she said. I know what this is. I remember when I got my letter through the post. Littlefoot looked at her with his bushy white eyebrows raised. What do you mean? He asked her. What is it? For an answer, Auntie Antler opened the letter and read it out. Dear Littlefoot, it has come to my attention that you have lately opened a spaghetti shop to roaring acclaim. As a consequence, and to test the place for myself, I shall be attending Yeti Spaghetti tomorrow evening. If I am impressed by your offerings, you shall make it onto my list of best mountainside meals. But if I am unimpressed, then it will be a different matter entirely. I look forward to my visit. Until tomorrow, Mr. Tusk. Littlefoot's eyes widened with surprise and the slightest bit of trepidation. Mr. Tusk, he asked. As in, Mr. Tusk, the most important restaurant reviewer in the whole of the Sleepy Mountains? Auntie Antler nodded. And he wants to come here? Littlefoot asked. Tomorrow? Auntie Antler nodded once again. Littlefoot gulped. Littlefoot wasn't entirely correct. Mr. Tusk was not merely the most important restaurant reviewer in the whole of the Sleepy Mountains. He was arguably the most important restaurant reviewer in the whole of the Northern Hemisphere. He was a big walrus of a ripe and seasoned age who'd made a name for himself over the years with his list of best mountainside meals, the definitive list of which eateries you simply had to go to, and which ones you simply had to avoid. No one knew if he was called Mr. Tusk because of his two massive tusks. If he'd only had one, some people said, he'd have just been called Mr. Tusk. Or if he was called that because that was the sound he made, tsk, tsk, when he was unimpressed with a dish set before him. He wore a top hat and a single monocle that made one of his eyes look supersize, and restaurateurs everywhere loved and feared him in equal measure. He could make a new restaurant sink or swim, which meant that Littlefoot had to make sure everything in Yeti Spaghetti was absolutely perfect. He couldn't have a single spoon out of place. He had expected the day to go terribly slowly, as things often did when you were eagerly anticipating something. Just like when each day leading up to your birthday or Christmas seems to take a year to pass by. But, in fact, the day went rather quickly for Littlefoot. He supposed that was because he was kept very busy. He scrubbed the surfaces, he dusted the lamps. He went down to the tundra to pick Alpine flowers, which he then placed in vases on all of the tables. He made sure that everything in the kitchen was in order. He gave his staff a much-needed pep talk. And then the evening snuck up on him. One moment, Littlefoot felt the sun was shining, low in the sky, spilling yellow light over the snow and making every minuscule crystal glisten. And the next moment, the sun had gone. The air was dark and crisp, and the sky was a black blanket studded with twinkling stars. Guests were coming in through the door, taking their seats, lending their voices to the happy hubbub of chit-chat. How relieved Littlefoot was to see that Yeti Spaghetti was busy that evening. There was nothing worse for a food critic, he thought, than an empty restaurant. Then there came a knock at the door, and somehow Littlefoot just knew, perhaps from the ominous, booming nature of the knock, perhaps from the way that Auntie Antler glanced at him from across the room. He just knew. He opened the door, and there stood the walrus, his proud tusks freshly polished, his shirt and suit jacket finely pressed. "Why, good evening, Mr. Tusk, Littlefoot said. "Welcome to Yeti Spaghetti. It's such an honor to have you here." Mr. Tusk eyed Littlefoot through his monocle. "And you are the proprietor?" he asked. Littlefoot blinked at him for a moment. Yes, sir. If by that you mean, am I the Yeti who runs Yeti Spaghetti? Why, yes, I am. Littlefoot's the name." Mr. Tusk nodded. "Very good. Well, I have heard very good things about this place on the grapevine. I hope I shall not be disappointed." Littlefoot led Mr. Tusk to his table. It was the best table in the house. It stood the perfect distance from the guitar-playing Arctic monkey, in a position where the moonlight fell directly through one of the windows. It was altogether a magical spot, and Littlefoot felt a small wash of satisfaction at the look on Mr. Tusk's face. He was at least impressed with the vibes. Littlefoot handed Mr. Tusk the menu. "As you may have expected from the name," he said, "we only serve spaghetti here. But let me tell you, sir, the things you can do with spaghetti are almost unlimited." Mr. Tusk nodded and perused the menu before handing it back to Littlefoot. "I shall have the Yeti Sunsetty Spaghetti." "Oh, the Sunsetty Spaghetti. That's a very good choice, Mr. Tusk, said Littlefoot. He gave a little bow and took the order to the kitchen. "Start chopping those tomatoes in half," he told his team. "I want each and every one of them looking like the sun dipping down below the horizon." And as his team got preparing the veg, Littlefoot undertook the spaghetti himself. with a guest as important as Mr. Tusk, only the most expert spaghetti maker would suffice. He mixed the ingredients, rolled the dough, cut the finest slivers of pasta, and flashed them in a pan of water. 10 minutes later, Littlefoot himself was carrying the plate of pasta to Mr. Tusk. The walrus inhaled the rich smells rising from the plate. "Smells very good," he said. "Now let's see how it tastes." Littlefoot watched nervously from the corner, with Auntie Antler patting his shoulder with a hoof, as Mr. Tusk slowly and then more quickly gobbled down the sunsetty spaghetti. Soon enough, his plate was sparkling clean, as though there had never been any food there in the first place. "And how was that, sir?" Littlefoot asked, reappearing at Mr. Tusk's table. The walrus just gave a small nod. Clearly he was not willing to give anything away, and told Littlefoot it was time for him to take a look at the dessert menu. "Of course, sir," he said, handing the walrus the dessert menu and beginning to clear the table, when Mr. Tusk let out an exclamation of surprise and disgust. "Hazelnut chocolatey spaghetti," he spluttered. "Ah, yes," said Littlefoot. "I know it sounds rather peculiar." "Peculiar is one way of putting it," Mr. Tusk interjected. "But I assure you," Littlefoot went on, "it is quite a wonderful surprise." The walrus sighed. "I'm not convinced by that, but I suppose I shall have to try it." "Certainly," Littlefoot said, and he managed to keep his cool until he was safely back inside the kitchen, where he felt a little wobble go through him. "Oh dear," he thought. He hoped the hazelnut chocolate spaghetti wouldn't ruin Mr. Tusk's experience. And so it was with some trepidation that Littlefoot carried the plate of chocolatey spaghetti to the table, placed it in front of Mr. Tusk, and backed away. He watched as the food critic frowned, glaring down at the bowl, and lowered his face to give it a sniff. He grimaced. Then, picking up his fork, he nudged the pasta around, as though reluctant to even take a bit. He wound a few strands of pasta around the fork, and, hazelnut chocolate sauce dripping off the pale strands, he ferried a small bite to his mouth. He frowned. He chewed. And then the most wondrous thing happened. A smile like the sun rising dawned over Mr. Tusk's face. He looked down at his plate in surprise, and without wasting another moment, he tucked into the chocolate pasta. "Many thanks, Littlefoot," Mr. Tusk said 15 minutes later, as he pulled his jacket back on and made his way to the door. "You will hear of my review soon." When he was gone, Littlefoot slumped to the floor. He was exhausted. All the guests were gone, the restaurant was tidied up, and he was alone in Yeti Spaghetti with Auntie Antler. "You must be starving," she said to him. "It's been a long day of hard work. You need a bowl of spaghetti yourself." But Littlefoot only shook his head. "For the first time in my life," he said, "spaghetti is exactly what I don't want." "Well," asked Auntie Antler, "what would you like?" He gave her a soft look. "What I really want," he said, "is a bowl of your mountain veg soup." Auntie Antler gave him a warm, loving smile and trotted off into the kitchen. Not long later, she returned with a bowl of her hot, delicious soup, which Littlefoot sipped at gratefully. There they sat, chatting quietly as Littlefoot ate his soup, when something rather unexpected happened. A white, enveloped letter slipped once again through the door and fell to the mat. Auntie Antler and Littlefoot exchanged a wide-eyed stare, and she trotted over to pick it up. "Should I open it?" she asked. Littlefoot stared at her a few moments longer, deliberating. If this was what he thought it was, did he really want to know now, or should he save it for tomorrow? "Yes," he said, "we can't wait." Auntie Antler opened the letter and read, "Dear Littlefoot, I wanted to let you know straight away about my experience at your newly opened Yeti Spaghetti. What an interesting restaurant you opened. Altogether very strange, but undeniably lip-smackingly delicious. And, if I may say so myself, I have never eaten a dessert quite so unexpectedly brilliant as your hazelnut chocolate spaghetti. Even writing that feels odd to me, but there you have it. And so it is with much delight that I can tell you you have made it to the top of my list of best mountainside meals. Congratulations, and thank you, Mr. Tusk. Littlefoot could have melted from the sweep of relief and joy that went through him. Top of the list? He couldn't believe it. "Well done, Littlefoot," Auntie Antler was saying, wrapping her hooves around him in a big reindeer hug. "But I didn't doubt you for a moment." "Thank you, Auntie Antler," he said. "Thank you for everything." Auntie Antler smiled, kissed him on the forehead, and left. Moonlight filtered through the restaurant, sleep weighing heavily on him. Littlefoot wandered through Yeti Spaghetti and into the kitchen, where a huge pan of unused spaghetti sat on the side. Well, there was no one here to eat it. What would Littlefoot do with all that spaghetti? And then the oddest, coziest thought occurred to him. How comfortable and inviting that spaghetti looked. He took the pan and tipped the spaghetti onto the floor so that it lay in a big pile. And then, just like that, he lay down on it. Oh, yes, he'd been absolutely right. It turned out that not only was spaghetti the most delicious of all foods, it was also the most comfortable of all beds. Why had he never thought to sleep on spaghetti before? He nestled down into the soft, starchy strands, and they seemed to move to accommodate him. Spaghetti for a mattress, spaghetti for a pillow, and spaghetti for a warm cover. What more could he hope for? Sinking down into his spaghetti bed, the memory of Mr. Tusk's review like a gentle stroke in his brain. Littlefoot closed his eyes, stretched his limbs, and yawned. And it wasn't long before Littlefoot, the Yeti who sold spaghetti, drifted off to sleep. Now we are sailing into a soft and peaceful sleep. Feel the soft and cozy support of your bed. Feel the way your body, heavy and happy with sleepiness, is being carried upon it. It is as though you are being carried on gentle ocean currents, on the rising and falling of waves. Feel how they are lapping gently beneath you, bearing you into the land of sleep. These waves carrying you are deep and gentle like our breath. Breathe with the waves. Breathe in and out. In and out they go. In and out. In and out. Close your eyes. Let your eyelids be heavy. Let your whole body relax as you sail into sleep. Feel your arms soft and heavy, and your legs and feet soft and heavy too. Let's pay some gentle attention to how our bodies are feeling. Keep your eyes closed and let your mind come unhooked from your head. Your mind is a magical thing. It can stay inside your head, or it can travel all around your body, like a little person wandering around a house to check that all is well. Let your mind travel first to your breath. Feel the breath moving through your nose. Feel the breath moving into your chest or into your tummy, making it rise and fall. Rise and fall. Good. Just focus on your breathing. That's wonderful. Now let your mind float down from your breath. Let it travel down one of your arms. Feel the sensation in your arm. Feel how it is heavy on the bed, or maybe soft tucked underneath your head as you sleep. Let your mind travel down your fingers. First, let your mind wander down to the tip of your thumb. Now down your first finger. Now your middle finger. Now your ring finger. And last but not least, your pinky. What does it feel like at the end of your pinky? bring your mind back up to your breathing and breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. Now we're traveling with our minds all the way down our other arm. Let your mind go down each of your fingers on that arm. First, let your mind wander down to the tip of your thumb. Now down your first finger. Now your middle finger. Now your ring finger. And now your pinky. Very good. Now let your mind come back to your chest and let it sit there, soft and heavy, right where your heart is. If you let your mind rest there, you will even be able to feel the gentle beating of your heart. Do you know what your heart says as it's beating? It says, I love, I love, I love. That's what everyone's heartbeat says. I love, I love, I love. And as everyone's heartbeat says that, the world fills up with love. The world fills up with each heartbeat like a lake, filling up with the raindrops that fall from the sky. The lake of love can never be too full, and it can never be empty. The whole world is full of love. You are loved. Your family love you. Your friends love you. People all across the world love you. The animals in the fields and the birds in the trees, and even the trees themselves, they all love you too. And we love them back. That is the beautiful thing about love. You can never give too much of it, because it can never run out. Love is like the water in the lake. There will always be more of it. It falls from the sky like rain and keeps us safe and happy. You are safe. You are happy. You are loved. While you're floating through your dreams, whisper your love to the world. Say, I love you, world. And now listen out. Hear the world say it back. The world is saying, I love you. The world is gentle, and you are gentle too. The world is kind, and you are kind too. The world is loved, and you are loved too. The rain loves the ground it falls upon, and the ground loves the grass and trees and flowers that grow up out of it. And the grass loves the animals that walk upon it. And so the animals love the world they wander through, because it is so beautiful. And the whole world loves you. Feel how your body is drifting peacefully upon the gentle lake. Let any worries that may have lingered from the day sail away from your mind. Watch them disappear like a whole host of multicoloured helium balloons being released into the sky. Watch them as they go, as they soar up high. Smaller and smaller they get, smaller and smaller, until they are just little specks in the sky. And then they are gone. You are safe. You are kind. There is nothing to worry about as you drift into sleep, because you are drifting on the lake of love. You are safe. You are happy. You are loved. The world is gentle and you are gentle too. The world is kind and you are kind too. The world is loved and you are loved too. Close your eyes. Let your eyelids get heavy. Let your limbs get heavy too. Feel your arms and legs falling heavily into your soft and cozy bed. Feel your chest rising and falling with your breathing. Rising and falling like the waves on the lake of love. Sleep, little one. You are safe. You are happy. You are loved. There is more love in this world than there are stars in the sky. There is more kindness in this world than there are droplets of water in the entire lake. The world is gentle, and you are gentle too. The world is kind, and you are kind too. The world is loved, and you are loved too. Good night, little one. Sleep tight.